We have a man named Marc Laidlaw who worked on all of the Half-Life games. As a developer, as a writer, he was involved with every single one. Half-Life, Half-Life 2, Episode 1, Episode 2. He left Valve, announced his departure in January of 2016.
Okay.
And I mean, most everyone who worked on Half-Life, the big people on top of it at least, are gone.
Yeah.
You know, over the last year, I feel like we've said, this person's leaving Valve, this person's leaving Valve. And so, he left in January 2016. This week, he released on his personal blog a very strange, short piece of fiction entitled Epistle 3. And it is basically it's written as a letter by a character named Gertie Fremont. So what this is, everyone, this is the entire plot of Half-Life 2 Episode 3. Just written out as a letter. And it basically says everything that would have happened in the game. Mm-hmm. Just published right there on the internet. That's what happened, Brad.
I wonder how long ago this was decided, or if he was one of the head writers and just always had this and was like, I'm going to tell the story, or if other people were in on it.
Yes.
And he hasn't gotten in trouble for this or anything?
That's the thing. So actually, I contacted Rick Hoeg of Hoeg Law on this.
Really?
I was curious.
Cool.
Yeah.
This is the one that's so good.
Yeah. So, I warned Jones. He's got more law to read this week. Basically, because I was curious, because, like, you changed the names, obviously, to avoid some legality, right? You call it fan fiction to avoid some legality. But does that work? Does that fly? And this is what I went to Hoeg about. I said, is that right? Like, does that fly? And his answer is no.
Oh.
No.
Oh, no.
And so he's got some ideas about, like, what's going on here. And so, we'll just have Jones read that, because I was curious from a lawyer's standpoint. And again, I guess, if we should set that up. We're sponsored by Hoeg Law, one of our sponsors. And so Rick Hoeg listens to the podcast, cares about this stuff, and says, like, hey, if you have any questions, email me. And I said, like, I have a question about this thing. He's like, sure. Here's my thoughts.
So just this part right there?
Just the brackets.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It is possible that Mr. Laidlaw simply believes he is in the right, provided he couches what he releases as fan fiction, etc. It is most definitely not. A number of employees have difficulty with the notion that their ideas belong to their employer. I think this unlikely owing to his long career in the industry, over which he should have become familiar with the concepts of IP ownership, etc., burn, described in my previous email, but it is possible. More cynically, if Valve isn't involved in allowing the release, he may believe that relying on 1. Changed names, and 2. Fan fiction, gives him plausible deniability to claim he fits into this option, legal obliviousness, and thus defeat attempts to challenge him, simply by clouding the waters, making litigation more expensive. The fact that he is making the fan fiction claim at all suggests that he understands he is, at best, in a legal gray area. In short, I think he is most likely violating Valve's rights here, but for some reason thinks Valve won't come after him. Could be his relationship with the company. Could be that the company permitted the release or believes they did. The exact nature of the reason is likely to remain speculative unless and until we hear more, which may never come.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Our theories are, panel, and I want to know where each of you rest. Valve thought it was okay. Valve doesn't care. Valve is not working on any Half-Life games and simply don't care that this story leaked, and they just like Marc Laidlaw. I guess those are really the two, is like Valve wouldn't care to sue, or Valve wouldn't sue.
Or 3, he's going to war in some weird way, you know?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
He's deliberately being antagonistic. That's option 3, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you believe? What do you believe? Why would this happen suddenly?
I think Valve didn't give him permission, and he just did it anyways, but I don't think they'll care in the grand scheme.
Yeah.
They're like, whatever. Like, Valve seems like a pretty mellow place to work.
Yeah.
So, I don't know for sure, but that's just kind of vibe I get from it. I think we might have heard something by now if Valve was going after him.
From the impressions I get, we might hear, if something happens, it might be within a few weeks, Brad.
Oh, okay.
But
getting their legal team together.
I'm kind of with you, though, dude, is I don't think anything will ever come of this. I think that Valve will say, that's okay. You know what? You did to the fans something right. You published a story they've been dying to hear.
It could be bad PR for them if they go after him too.
Yeah.
Because if I was a big Half-Life fan, they'd already be on thin ice with me.
Right.
A lot. Like Huber.
Yes.
they're dead to Huber pretty much.
Right. So if they come after Marc Laidlaw now, they're villains of the internet.
Yeah.
Forever. There's no.
And isn't that the rumor why they didn't do 3? Like one of the reasons that like didn't the No say that a while back that like Mass Effect 3 scared them, that like there was all this anti Mass Effect 3 sentiment, and so they're like, well, we don't want to bother putting this huge like ending together for our game.
Jones, I remember hearing that and not buying it, but maybe you're right.
Yeah,
dude.
it sounds like a weird excuse.
That seems like a weird excuse for Valve.
Yeah. But, I mean, at the same time, they know they're making a thing that nobody will ever be happy with. That is a factor.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it just really bugs me because that was the plan for 3 episodes. They said they were going to do that, and they didn't follow through.
Yeah.
That's what really bums me. And they waited so long. It's a problem now.
I think we fall into a mistake in games media calling it Half-Life 3 all the time.
No.
When Half-Life 2 Episode 3 was absolutely teased and promised it was a product that was meant to come out. And I mean, that's what this is for, is Episode 3, what would have been that 3rd episode. Damiani, where do you stand? What do you think this is about?
I mean, I honestly think it's more what you guys said, that Valve probably won't do anything. I do think that a few things that I was considering when I was hearing the legal explanation and stuff. It could be entirely possible that Valve won't do anything, but also just if they decide to ever do Half-Life 2 Episode 3, they can be like, oh, that leaked story, like that's actually just we know he was the lead writer in all these games and stuff, but we actually had another team writing something else, and we were going to go with that. So he was just releasing the story that he came up with, which was they just make up some story denying that like that's not what it was going to be. That's his version of it. It's not what we're doing. We're doing something else. So they could still, if they wanted to, they could still go for it and at some point release that game with a totally different story and be like, whatever, your story was whatever you did with it. Who cares?
But let's, Damiani, this is where we're going to the next part of the conversation. For real, do you think Valve is ever going to make Half-Life 2 Episode 3? Do you think Valve is ever making that game?
I right now, no.
Right.
Things
Nobody
can change.
does. Why would you think that?
I think anything's possible. I think there's still a chance for it to happen at some point.
Shenmue 3 happened.
No, Damiani, this
Who's to say something doesn't happen at one point where they're just like, we're tired of I don't think they're going to do this, but there's always the possibility. You can't say 0% chance. Like, it's very unlikely. Because
I don't think Marc Laidlaw's mad. I don't think he's angry at Valve. I don't think he wants to hurt them.
I think he's trying to offer.
Or it would have been a lot sooner, I imagine.
Yeah,
I feel like honestly, what must have happened is all those people left because there's someone internally at Valve who has the authority to make all the calls. Said we are not for the foreseeable future, aka 10 years or more, we have no plans to do anything with the Half-Life franchise.
And that's why a lot of those team
So
members
if you guys are waiting around
to
to work on this, is all you're here for, you might want to take this opportunity to look elsewhere for other stuff.
Yeah.
Like you want to do your own thing or something, we're not doing it right now. They might have all left. This could have been an act from him for closure for the fans of, I want to give you something because I know he only did this honestly because he knows it's never happening.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
That's what he has to do.
Yes.
And he just wanted to give the fans closure, but like to be brutally honest, that's not going to give fans enough closure. They're never going to shut up until they get the game. Until there's a game that says Half-Life 2 Episode 3 or Half-Life 3, it will never end. It will not end. There will always be doubts on that story. Like, oh, cool, that's what he wanted it to be, but one person doesn't like make the game and stuff. Like, it could have. Like, we want a game.
Canon.
We want a game. And also, the other thing is, the whole thing about Valve owns everything. He changed the names and stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
If he came up with the story for the 3rd game, like it was never conceived in like ahead of time. Like he went home and on like napkin stuff, like here's how Half-Life 3 will probably go and stuff on his own time, and just came up with it. Like it's not the official like story that Valve is gonna use. It's just something he made up, like out of the blue. And by
that's not gonna hold up.
It's
dude.
not, but it makes it even more great.
Up.
If he didn't write it on company equipment, if he didn't use any kind of company equipment to create it, did his own time, and he doesn't call it Half-Life 3 or Half-Life 2 Episode 3, changes the name, settings, everything like that, I think they have less. It's harder for them to prove. It's not worth Valve's time to go after that. It's so ambiguous. This is like.
Ooh, we got a correction straight from Rick Hoeg of Hoeg Law.
Nice.
On a roll.
Even better. It's a Damiani correction. Because Damiani made the argument that maybe Marc Laidlaw, it was okay for him to leak the story if he did it outside of the office on napkins. Here's the response. While Damiani is correct that use of company time, equipment, and office space is a factor in IP ownership, in general, IP created that is related to your employer's business or anticipated business will be your employer's. even if the employee creates it on their own time or their own cocktail napkins, etc. Get owned, Michael Damiani.
I hope Hoeg wrote that, but yeah.
No. Hoeg did not write it.
No.
And actually, many in the comments suggested that Laidlaw's NDA was simply up, but I don't buy it. We need definitive evidence on that, because it's hard for me to imagine this NDA that's like, okay, and on this date, on this specific date, you can make a post, but you must change the names, and you must be very cute and call it fanfic. Like, I don't believe that is how specific the NDA was. Why change the names? Why do all those turnarounds?
There's so much we don't know. I mean, for all we know, he could have called up Gabe and been like, yo, can I just do this?
Hubert, I buy that more than the NDA was up. I buy that more. Yeah, it makes more sense to me. But I did
Gabe
want
doesn't
to
care.
acknowledge that comment because it
Clearly
really
not.
many times.
Yeah, it hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
Sonic